Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining again. I'm Alex with the Rowan Health and Wellness Clinic. Today I want to talk to you about leaky gut or dysbiosis. So if you have any trouble with your gut, gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, a little back and forth between the two, but it expands beyond just your gut. And we talk today a little bit about why it's so important to care for your gut and why that may impact other areas in your body and other conditions you may have. So leaky gut or dysbiosis is kind of a new term. The concept has been around for decades. However, the actual understanding of it and how it's linked to other conditions that we're seeing in the body outside of the gut is really kind of a new movement. And it does really explain and get to the heart of a lot of matters when we can't seem to get the right answer from other places. What is leaky gut? So 70% of our immune system actually is driven and housed from our guts. So you might hear those in commercials like probiotics and things like that. So the importance of the gut is becoming really well known. What leaky gut actually is if you straighten out the entire lining of the inside of your colon, so everything pretty much from your stomach down all the way to your backside, if you stretch it right out, it's actually only one cell deep, just like you see here on the screen. One layer of cells sitting very, very, very tightly together. So that tight little spot in between where the cells push up against each other is called a tight junction. And it's millions upon millions upon millions of these cells that are responsible for keeping what's inside your gut inside and allowing things like nutrients to then get into the bloodstream to go where they need to and where they should. Trouble being when those little cells get disrupted, when they get inflamed. And again, I've used the word inflamed quite a few times, explaining any of the conditions that we have and how inflammation in the body can be such a harmful thing. And this is one of the places where it really does cause a lot of damage. So if these little cells are inflamed, what actually happens is those cells move apart a little bit. Just a little bit, not a gaping hole, but just enough where now it's letting more than just the actual nutrients from the food that's been digested into the bloodstream. At this point, there is the potential for letting toxins and actual byproducts of bacterial growth into the bloodstream. Not a good place for it to be. It is meant to stay inside the gut, never to be outside. So when this occurs and you get that little bit of bacterial material outside of the gut, it goes through the bloodstream, and depending on this might be where genetics play in a little bit, lifestyle, other areas in the body, anywhere like the thyroid, and possibly cause things and inflammation there. Whether it lands in your joints and you now have inflammation in your joints, arthritis of sorts, whether it goes to your skin, that kind of thing, and causes disruptions there. It could be multiple places. So really, this is, when we talk about healing the gut, this is a major component of what we do in functional medicine, is take a look at how your body is protecting itself and working properly. So why is it important? So we talked about 70% of your gut, or 70% of your health, is housed and comes from your gut. What the gut actually does is protects us from anything that we do ingest that might be harmful for us. So when you eat something that's kind of iffy, and it protects us and keeps it, again, contained so it doesn't get into the bloodstream. Might be a little disturbed for a bit, but nonetheless, it's also been known as the second brain. So when you say you have that gut feeling, so something along the lines, a lot of our neurotransmitters are actually regulated to some degree through our gut as well, especially serotonin, which is a big piece of our mood and our cognitive function. So taking care of your gut can also impact your mood. It's very, very complex. There is a lot going on in there. It's not just a long tube. There are probably about 10 trillion bacterial cells in there. And we try to keep them in harmony to do their job, because if they weren't there, we wouldn't be able to digest food. But when you have the wrong amount of the wrong guys in the wrong place, it can start to cause trouble. So symptoms. So how do you know if you have leaky gut? One way is through testing your stool to find out if you do have the wrong bacteria, too much bacteria, or imbalances anywhere. But some of the things that there are evidence for that it connects to are things like chronic fatigue syndrome. If your body's dealing with all of this junk literally flying around in your body, it does tend to drain you. Migraines, multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, food sensitivities, thyroid abnormalities, type 1 diabetes, Crohn's disease, irritable bowel, inflammatory bowel, yeast infections, skin infections, autism with ADHD, ADHD and some mood swings. So again, there's a lot that really that we wouldn't normally think, oh, my gut's upset, but that's not why I'm not thinking clearly, or my gut's upset and that's why I'm having trouble with my thyroid. It's the same blood that travels through your entire body. So if there's something going on in one spot, there's always potential that something could be going on in another organ. Things that make it worse, things that irritate the gut, things that affect your immune system, not only in your gut, but everywhere in your body. Things like excessive sugar, nutrient deficiencies, kind of especially focused on A, D, and zinc. Stress. Stress is a huge thing. Think about when you're stressed, you're emotionally stressed, you're physically stressed. Your gut works differently. And if we don't give it that chance to rest and work the way it's supposed to in between and give it that rest, it just continues to kind of malfunction until we hit a bigger bump than just not feeling great. Too many bad bacteria, not enough good bacteria. So this is kind of where probiotics, but the right probiotics, I do talk about those at another time, are helpful. And it's because it goes down to helping and supporting gut health. Inflammation. Again, if your gut's inflamed, chances are somewhere else in your body either is or will be soon. Gluten. Gluten is not an easy thing for our bodies to digest. And when it's trying to go through the digestive system, it's going to probably cause some of that inflammation because it's not something that our bodies are used to. And heaven forbid, we also have a GMO and gluten put together. And we do talk about GMOs and the importance of organics at another time, but truly, truly very, very important. A lot of people are, if not full-blown celiacs, a lot of people still have bad reactions to gluten, whether it's just a little bit of a cramping or a little bit of gassy, or maybe they're really tired after eating gluten. It doesn't, again, always need to be gut. You might have a varying degree of symptoms from gluten sensitivities. Antibiotics, because antibiotics will start to help the bad bacteria flourish because they kill off the good bacteria that's in your gut. So if you have been on multiple antibiotics throughout your life and now you're starting to have other diseases and conditions come out, it might be, again, because of how the antibiotics have changed the balance in your gut flora. Steroids, antacids, because antacids actually act on reducing stomach acid, which is not always the answer to things like GERD and reflux, but they kill off the acid, they decrease it. So now that protective barrier of the acid killing the bacteria that's on the food that you're taking into your mouth is less, which means more of that bacteria is living and getting into your gut. And if it's the wrong bacteria, there's that opportunity for overgrowth at that point. So you really want to be leery when it comes to actually managing your stomach acids properly. Processed foods, again, usually goes back to because of the sugar and all of the other chemicals that irritate the gut lining. Some dairy, some people are delicate to dairy, in which case, keeping in mind while you're eating, and if you have something like a lactose intolerance, diarrhea that comes after it, then chances are you are irritating that gut and causing some of those cells to be inflamed. NSAIDs, things like ibuprofen, can be very damaging to the gut lining, along to other systems in the body. So certainly we want to try to cut back on ibuprofen use or any non-steroidal anti-inflammatories that you can. Excessive alcohol intake, and as well as too much yeast. So all of those things, on a day-to-day basis, even if you have exposure to 2 or 3 of them, could be constantly going and damaging those cells, leading to trouble with your gut. So what can you do if you have leaky gut? So what can you do today, ultimately? And it depends, again, on what specifically is causing it for you. And that's where working with a functional medicine practitioner is very important. We will help to kind of narrow down what it is that's causing it for you so we can pinpoint things. We try to look from a high view, but we really want to pinpoint what it is for you in the shortest amount of time. So we're not just saying you can't have anything, but finding out what it is that specifically triggers you. Things that you do today. Always, again, trying to take out as much sugar from your diet as possible. Sugar is one of the most inflammatory substances that we take in on a regular basis. And if we can decrease how much sugar we have, we can decrease how much inflammation we have, not only for things like insulin, but also directly in your gut. Take out gluten, again, as much as you can. It might end up expanding to wheat, but honestly, I've gone gluten-free, and it is you think it's very difficult at first, but there are good options out there. I still can have pasta, like a rice pasta. Luckily, I don't have any cross sensitivities, so I can still have pasta and enjoy, my spaghetti and meatballs, because there are alternatives out there. Just be careful what's in some of them. But you can do this gluten-free breads, gluten-free pastas, gluten-free pizza crusts. I was very, very sad to possibly give up my pizza. But there are options out there, and they're so worth it. And you know what? They're going above and beyond these days. You get a really good place, and sometimes the gluten-free option tastes better than the regular option. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. Might cost you a few bucks more, but in some instances, it actually tastes amazing. Eat whole foods. So the less stuff that comes out of a package, the better. So again, vegetables, fruits, your meats, your dairy, and then, what are you putting in your food? What are you adding in your food? Kind of my rule of thumb is if I'm reading down the label and I can't pronounce it, even being a medical professional, and I'm having trouble pronouncing, some of the compounds that are in whatever it is that I'm about to ingest, it's probably not good for you. I'm going to go out there and say it's probably not good for you. And the other thing is relax and be calm when you eat. We do talk about this in one of our videos about the importance of resting and being relaxed while you're eating. So you're not stressed, you're not multitasking, you're not watching TV, you're not doing all kinds of other things. You're taking 20 minutes to eat, you're chewing your food well, getting that stomach acid to work properly so you don't have indigestion after the fact, but also so that your body can use it properly and it's not storing it improperly because your body's under stress while you're eating it. So those are 4 things you can start doing today that'll make a difference if you think you have leaky gut. I can't speak enough about gut health and how important it is, but this is a great place to start. So I really want to thank you guys for joining me again. And I hope this has been really helpful for you. I hope you could take some of these changes and start implementing them in your life today. And I hope you health and happiness. Thanks, guys.